Planning Commission meeting for October 22nd, 2019. I'd like to remind anybody that's in attendance, if you'd please sign the attendance sheet that's located on the table at the back of the room. We would appreciate it. Now call the meeting to order. We'll start, if you please stand with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll do Commissioner roll call, starting at my far right.
McNear here. Ford here.
Roberts here.
Bowden here.
Simmons Lee here. Mater here.
Gardner here.
We have a quorum with 7 in attendance tonight. On our consent agenda, all matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member of the Planning Commission for study. These items are considered to be routine and will be enacted upon by one motion with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired on an item from either the Planning Commission or from the floor, that item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. We have 2 items tonight, which is not normal. Would anyone from the commission like to remove an item from the consent agenda? I will ask to have item number 2 removed. Anyone from the public like to have an item removed from the consent agenda?
What item is that?
Number 2 is the Planning Commission meeting schedule.
Okay, I'm here for the.
This doesn't have anything to do with this. This is a consent agenda.
It has to do with Planning Commission. It has to do with the property that Symphony Farms wants to put a pool on.
No, sir, this has nothing to do with that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll take a motion to accept consent agenda item number 1.
So moved.
Seconded.
Have a motion from Commissioner McNear and a second from Commissioner Gardner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Motion passes 7-0. Now consent agenda item number 2, which is the Planning Commission meeting application deadline and meeting schedule. I'm the one that asked for that to be discussed. There's just one correction that needs to be made on the schedule. Application deadline that states on the schedule Friday, December 13th, 2020, should state application deadline Friday, December 13th, 2019. And so I have to have that changed for the schedule. Any discussion on that? I'd accept a motion to accept the application deadline Friday, December 13th, 2020 be changed to application deadline Friday, December 13th,
So moved.
2019.
Seconded.
Motion was made by Commissioner McNear, seconded by Commissioner Gardner. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Motion passes 7-0. Now we'll move to our first regular agenda item, Plaza South, FP-19-04. Consider a final plat for Plaza South, an 8-lot commercial subdivision located at the northeast corner of South Gardner Road and West 188th Street. And the city, please.
Good evening. The applicant is requesting approval of a final plat for 8 commercial lots on 28.579 acres for Plaza South, located at the northeast corner of South Gardner Road and 188th Street. Currently, the 4 parcels that make up this development are undeveloped and unplatted. Existing utilities, including gas, water, electric, and sewer, are located along Gardner and 188th. This is a view basically looking northeast onto the site, basically across the intersection. As you can see, it is a vacant piece of property. There are power lines running up and down both Gardner and also 188th. Here's another view. Again, the property was basically just being used for agricultural purposes. And that's looking north on from 188th. In March of this year, a petition was brought before this board to rezone and subdivide the property. Preliminary development plan was approved with conditions to allow for commercial uses for lots 1 through 8 and a large assembly use on lot 9. At that same meeting, the preliminary plat was also approved for 9 lots. Both were approved by unanimous vote. And as you can see from this slide, the original lots 5 and 6 from the preliminary plat have been combined into one lot, which is basically the lot that's on the south side is listed as lot 5 right now. Thus turning this from a 9-lot subdivision into, of course, an 8-lot subdivision. It was determined by staff that this is not a major change from the original preliminary plat or development plan. The petitioner is proposing, as you can see on this slide, the gray shaded areas depict roads within this development that will be constructed as private streets and will be maintained in perpetuity by the property owners. New sidewalks will be constructed along the entire south property line, just north of 108th Street right-of-way, and connect to an existing trail system that is solely within the right-of-way of South Gardner Road. That's the green shaded area. Staff findings that combine 4 parcels into 8 lots. Plat is consistent with the Land Development Code and the I-35 and Gardner Road Interchange Sub-Area Plan. A stormwater management plan and traffic impact study have been submitted but have not yet been approved, and no utility extensions are proposed at this time. Staff recommends approval of FP 19-4, a final plat for Plaza South with the conditions outlined in the recommended motion, and recommends the Plan Commission send the recommendation to the governing body to accept the dedication of rights-of-way and easements. After review of the application FP 19-04, a final plat for parcel IDs CF 221436-2011, CF 221436-2001, CF 221436-2019, and CF 221436-2018, and final plat dated September 11th, 2019, and staff report dated October 22nd, 2019. The Plan Commission approves the application as proposed, provided the following conditions are met. 1, approval of the final traffic impact study and stormwater management plan. 2, prior to the mayor signing an approved recordable plat, the applicable excise tax shall be paid to the city. 3, the construction plans for any utilities, infrastructure, or public facilities shall meet all technical specifications, and public improvement plans shall be submitted and approved prior to the release of the plat for recording, and recommends the governing body accept dedication of rights-of-way and easements.
Okay. Is the applicant present?
Oh.
If you'd like to speak, you can approach the podium. Name and address, please.
Hi, good evening. Doug Ubben with Phelps Engineering here on behalf of the owners of the property. Bob laid out a well presentation there. Basically, we're just here tonight to ask to divide this property into 8 lots so that the owner, as they start getting interest in the lots, can have lots there ready to go to sell off. He has plans to go ahead and start getting some of this infrastructure built in the near future. That way, when the lots are platted and he's got infrastructure, he's got pad sites ready to go. So this is just a step tonight to move towards having those lots ready and platted so he can sell them off.
Thank you. All right, time for Commissioner, actually, this isn't a public hearing item, but if anyone from the public would like to speak on this matter, you can approach the podium, state your name and address. Good.
Yeah, hi, my name is Rocky Gupta, and I'm the owner of the property adjacent to this location that we're talking about on 29550 South 91st, or I'm sorry, West 191st Street. And I know we've been working with the city for access to our property. We have owned that convenience store, the Express 66, and the car wash for a couple of years now, 3 years from now. And we're working with the city on the access to our property so it does not impact our business in any negative way for the development that's happening. We're all for the new development that's coming for the city. I just request that you all review the plans very carefully so that it does not impact our business in any negative way. We're here, we have created many jobs, whether it's car wash or convenience store. I'm sure the new development is going to create more jobs, more taxes and everything. But by creating a new development, new business, I just want to make sure that you good people here do not impact the existing businesses in a negative way. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, at this time, does anyone from the commission have any questions or comments, starting to my far right?
I had a question. We're combining they're planning on combining lots 5 and 6, correct?
Yes.
Was anything gonna be done with or elimination of the road between those two lots?
There was no road originally.
Okay, that's setbacks, correct? That'll disappear.
Is that just the dimensions?
Yeah, that's just.
It looked like a street, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think there's setback.
Did I take care of your question, Commissioner McNear? Commissioner Ford?
Go ahead. I'll pass for right now.
Did you have something, Larry?
A point of clarification on the staff report. We've had a request from the applicant to review the property's excise tax and look at the incentive that the city has in place in this program called an excise tax credit. And this is based upon whether or not the amount of investment that the property owner is making in the construction of 188th Street offsets the proposed excise tax that would be paid by the applicant. This is under review, and this request came in late enough in the day we weren't able to change the staff report. So this is information for you to just have. It doesn't affect your action tonight in any way because, as it says, the action will be taken on the excise tax as applicable. So if there is an administrative decision to give a credit, it will just be something that will take place. It doesn't affect your action in approving the plat in any way.
Okay, good information, Larry, thank you. Commissioner Roberts?
I have no questions.
Simmons Lee?
No questions.
Commissioner Mader?
Just a clarification question, and that's because I was not on the commission at the time that the preliminary plan went through. The sidewalks, it says a mix of 5 and 8 foot wide sidewalks. I know sometimes the sidewalks have came up with staff recommending that we go with the 8 foot. Is there, and I know this is just a preliminary plat, or I'm sorry, final plat, so I know we're gonna see each parcel as it comes by. I guess wanted that noted for the record that it seems like we might be mixing sidewalks and maybe they're gonna be applicable as each parcel comes up for discussion when we get further down the road, but I didn't know why that was in there because it seems like we always kind of stick with a standard. Thank you.
Is this on? Oh.
It is.
So the sidewalks, I think that you're looking at, we had some that were on the street side on 188th were a little wider. And as you can also see from actually the drawing that's up right now, the easement itself gets real wide on the church property. There was kind of a oh gosh, now I can't even say it. A
Meandering.
a Miranding, yeah, whatever.
Meandering.
Good one.
Thank you.
Meandering.
Sidewalk that was going to be built on the church site to allow for them to construct their church. It was a give and take for them. There's going to be some benches and things like that for the pedestrians. On the interior part of the development, I believe the sidewalks are a little more narrow than what they are on the perimeter. Also, there's a 10-foot wide trail system on Gardner Road that's existing that everything's kind of tying into as well. So it's basically kind of in and out of the development, but you're not going to be walking down one of these private streets and all of a sudden have 2 feet knocked off of your sidewalk and narrow down. So everything kind of fits in together.
Okay, good, thank you, appreciate it. That's all.
Could I just clarify that the 8 foot is from the public sidewalk to the front entrance of the building?
Thank you, yes.
Commissioner Gardner?
I'm not sure if this is within the scope of what we do, but it's more of a curiosity question. Why are these private streets?
The applicant himself wanted to have more control over the streets and the defining nature of them, and they were working with the church on the backside, and so we had to have the curved street that's in the middle be realigned to allow for a better visual view of the church from the street. And they wanted to be able to control that, and so they were willing to put those streets in place and take care of them ad nauseum as a common area maintenance item between themselves. So they will have something like an HOA that takes care of the common area maintenance, including the streets and the sidewalks within that area. It's not normal, you're right, it's normally those are public streets, but it is something that a developer can do. And it was, that was their request, so.
And that was one of the parts of the motion that we had, that they had to meet. Was it the HOA or how they were gonna plan on how to take care of the private streets?
I just find it strange, but anyway. If it's what they want, then who am I to say no? So that's all I had.
Okay. Commissioner Ford, did you have anything?
I didn't know if it was during the question and response time, if we had mentioned we had talked with anyone of the public about the property, or if we had any conflicts or anything like that, or if that came up after the question by the staff time.
Ex parte communication?
Yeah.
Normally public hearing, isn't it, that we do ex parte?
Yeah, normally that's during a public hearing, but it doesn't hurt if you've had some type of activity or some type of conversation to go ahead and explain that to the chairman.
Okay. I worked with the brokerage company on the sign that went, the one-time real estate sign that went on the property. To my knowledge, we won't get any future business for signage on the property, but I wanted to bring it up that I did work with the brokerage firm on advertising this property.
Okay. Thank you. Did you have anything else for them?
No, that was what I had.
Okay. I have nothing further to add. So without any further discussion, I would accept a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that after review of application FP-19-04, a final plat for parcel IDs Charlie Foxtrot 221436-2011, Charlie Foxtrot 221436-2001, Charlie Foxtrot 221436-2019, and Charlie Foxtrot 221436-2018, and final plat dated September 11th, 2019, and staff report dated October 22nd, 2019. The Planning Commission approves the application as proposed, provided the following conditions are met. Approval of the final traffic impact study and stormwater management plan. Number 2, prior to the mayor signing an approved recordable plat, the applicable excise tax shall be paid to the city. Number 3, the construction plans for any utilities, infrastructure, or public facilities shall meet all technical specifications, and public improvement plans shall be submitted and approved prior to the release of the plat for recording, and recommends the governing body accept dedication of rights-of-way and easements.
I'll take a second.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Gardner and a second from Commissioner Mader. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Motion passes as stated by Commissioner Gardner, 7-0. Regular agenda item number 2, Symphony Farms Amenities Area Z-19-04. Hold a public hearing and consider rezoning approximately 2.5 acres from R1 Single Family Residential District to RP1 Planned Single Family Residential District with an associated preliminary development plan for the Symphony Farms Amenities Area located at the northwest corner of the intersection of Kill Creek Road and 167th Street. And then I'd also like to ask any of the commissioners if they had any ex parte communications with anyone with this.
None.
I
Oh, go ahead.
don't have any.
Commissioner,
I had an email from a resident that I forwarded to Michelle maybe about a month ago, I
I
think.
think that was just a question.
Okay, that's the only thing I've
Yep.
had.
okay, I've had nothing.
Nothing. I had the similar question, but it was forwarded to Michelle.
Okay,
No one talks to me.
okay. Now for the city.
Good evening, Commissioners. Michelle Leiniger, Principal Planner with the city. This should look familiar to you. You saw this last month. You saw a site plan for the pool facility only. So that included the pool, the restroom and mechanical equipment, structure, and then the parking lot. So that has already been approved. We're working on getting the administrative plat done so that portion can go forward. What I had mentioned during that presentation is that we had some things come up with specifically the clubhouse and the setbacks. Well, it's a build to line for a small civic building type, and that's what the clubhouse is considered. Small civic building type is a gathering place. It can be a church, it can be any type of religious facility, it can be an event hall, any sort of private club, such as that. That building type has a build to range. So the setback for that is between 20 and 50 feet. That could not be addressed with the applicant's overall plan. And being that this is going to be a park and amenity area for the neighborhood with an overall plan, we recommended that the applicant move forward with the pool portion of it and then come back with the rezoning to include a planned district and include the preliminary development plan to allow for some of that flexibility in order to meet his vision for this property. So that's what we're doing tonight, is the proposed rezoning and the preliminary development plan. Again, this is the subject property. It's at the northwest corner of Kill Creek Road and 167th Street. To the north of the subject property is the Symphony Farms, beginning of the Symphony Farm subdivision. It's phase 1 and 2. To the west is actually county property. It's a single family residence. To the south is also county property. As you can see, it's crop egg land. And then to the east is a stormwater detention pond. Here is the existing zoning. The properties to the north and east are zoned R1 single family, like the subject property is today. As I stated, the property to the west and to the south are currently in the county zoned RUR, which is a rural residential agricultural zoning. Staff findings on the rezoning: proposed use is compatible with the surrounding zoning and uses. The comp plan and the R1 district both talk about accessory amenity areas for residential developments. This is directly in line with those descriptions, and obviously it would be compatible with the zoning and uses. The removal of the restrictions will not detrimentally affect the nearby properties. It's it will be an asset to the properties nearby. The gain for the rezoning is for the subdivision owners more than the developers. It will be an amenity area for them to take advantage of. The rezoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan. We're gonna go into the preliminary development plan. This should look partially familiar, as I already explained. Some additional amenities that are added on as part of this development plan that I wanted to point out. There is a community garden area. The plans here are for a trellis structure that goes over the top of this, and then big galvanized tanks that they use as the planting areas. That's why they're shown as ovals, and that way they're up off the ground. Really nice area so that people can use that space instead of digging up their backyard. Sport court, so you can see there, it looks like tennis and basketball courts. These are always very popular wherever they are. The clubhouse, you actually saw some of the elevations in with the site plan last month. The idea is for it to go along with kind of that barn theme. You won't see elevations for that until final development plan, but that clubhouse area is space for residents to utilize for birthday parties, meetings, and such. So those are the main differences. Staff findings on the preliminary development plan. Project could not have been accomplished through the strict application of the base zoning district. The benefits from flexibility and the standards allow for amenities to support the subdivision to the north. The plan reflects generally accepted sound planning and urban design principles. There are 2 deviation requests for the preliminary development plan. This is the one I already touched on. It's for the setback for the small civic building type. Here's a visual for you. The yellow line to the right side is the property line, and then you see the red lines marked 50 and 20. Those are the build to lines. That's the area where the code states that that building should be set back, the front setback should be located within. The applicant is requesting, it's about 80 feet back where the building is proposed. And you can see the buildings outlined in blue. Really, this is nestled in a residential subdivision area, and you know, the intent is to less emphasize the streetscape and keep it more residential. So pushing that back and that activity back kind of into the property is what the applicant had intended. That'll keep some of that activity off of the street and try to kind of buffer some of that noise out of there. Staff does support this deviation. That's actually number 2. This one is for the required parking. Recreation does require parking. Outdoor recreation requires 1 parking space per 10,000 square feet of passive. Passive is open space, treat areas. And then 1 per 1,000 square feet of active or programmed areas. So that's going to be any, your pool, your sport courts, your area that is identified for the community garden, any area that you're moving actively and where it's for a specific use. And then the civic and institutional use of 2.5 per 1,000 square feet for the community building. This total of 21 parking spaces required. Proposed there is 14 spaces. which is a reduction of 7 spaces. And this is what we have worked with Public Works to come up with. There's a concern about the amount of parking happening on the street in such close proximity to the intersection of Kill Creek and 167th Street. 167th Street is an arterial, so there would be no parking along that anyway. With the intersection of Kill Creek being, it actually is widened out, but the lanes are slimmed down because of that median and the turning movements and such. We have proposed, along with Public Works, to have no parking signs posted in the areas in red, and then allow for parking on the west side of Kill Creek Road going south. This will allow anybody that ends up having to park on the street to get right to the sidewalk, and then the sidewalk leads to the site. And additionally, there's some availability for parking. That little stub of a street is actually West 166th Street, off the furthest south stub that goes to the east. That's an extension of 166th Street. There's an opportunity for parking along there. The code does allow for sites to count on-street parking within 600 feet of the frontage at a 3-to-1 ratio. Being that the people parking along here will be less likely for the houses and more for the use, staff is comfortable with what has been proposed here to have no parking signs in the areas outlined in red, and then allow for parking on that west side of South Kill Creek Road, and then obviously 166th Street. Staff does recommend approval of the rezoning from R1 to RP1 and the associated preliminary development plan for the Symphony Farms amenities area, with a few conditions, and I want to make a note here. I have deleted on this suggested motion the condition for the turnaround for the fire access on the west side of the property, for it to be a hammerhead. That was something that we got worked out. The fire department is okay with what's proposed. So please exclude that from the conditions. But the current conditions are to complete the administrative plat process to combine the two lots, work with Public Works to obtain an approved stormwater management plan, provide no parking signs on the east side of Kill Creek Road from West 167th Street north to Mustang Street. And number 4, provide no parking signs on the west side of Kill Creek Road from the stub of West 66th Street, 166th Street to the east.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we'll open up the public hearing section. If anyone would like to comment on this item, please come forward, state your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes as an individual, 7 minutes if you're representing a group.
My name is Joseph A. Berger. I do own the property directly west. It's at 32430 West 167th Street. I have a pond that is approximately three-quarters of an acre in size that is on there, and it requires drainage to keep that pond full. It is not a rainfall pond. It is not spring fed. It requires drainage. I dealt with the county on when they did 167th Street, making sure that the ditches out in front of my house didn't go down to the creek west of the pond, and that some of that water now drains from that ditch, goes across the front of my property into my pond. We can't kill that pond. I will not allow it. It's one of the features of my property which makes my property valuable. Okay, it's a very beautiful pond. You're welcome to all come out and see it. Okay, got a nice fountain feature in it. It's very well kept, very well manicured, and I keep the weeds out of it. I do have fish in that pond too. I do not wish them to die. Okay, the second thing I want to talk about is the fence on the east side. There's a wire fence, a woven wire fence that's original to the farm that was there before. It is not on my property. It is 4 inches onto Symphony Farms property. That fence, that's why I have not taken it down. It's not my fence. I would like it to be removed, personally. And I would like a fence put up to protect my property from people that would wander from the athletic field over into my property. Number one is I'm reliable for anybody that would drown in my pond, and I don't want that to happen. So those things need to be taken care of, or actually taken into consideration when we're looking at this. I saw on one of the deals on the actual plat layout that looked like there was a detention basin. Is there a detention basin on there? Where does that detention basin? Okay, right there underneath the green square. Put the green square back up. Right there. That is the detention basin. Where does that drain? To the west. To the west. Okay, that drains into my pond. Okay. I consider that to be a good thing because that'll help my pond not die. Okay. This is the first I've seen of this plan, and I think I should have been notified of this a long time ago. Okay. I really don't care what happens on this piece of property because it does add value to mine, even though I won't be able to use it. I'm not in Symphony Farms. I'm not paying their HOA dues or anything like that. But I want a decent fence along my east side, and if that truly is a detention basin, I would like to know the volume of water which it's going to carry in certain rainstorms, whether 100-year flood, 500-year flood, whatever. Okay? And that will help me decide whether that's enough to keep my pond alive. Because that water feature on my property is very important to me. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
City heard you, so.
Could I ask the?
Yes. Go ahead.
You bring up the drainage along 167th as currently draining to your pond?
Yes, it comes off of Kill Creek Road. It comes right off of Kill Creek Road over here on the east side, comes around the corner onto 167th Street. It travels west in front of all the Symphony Farms property there, and at the corner of my property, the ditch flattens out and pushes that water straight into my pond.
I don't see that as changing.
Okay.
There's nothing in this plans that I know of that would change that drainage.
Well, okay, I hope not. I'm just bringing it up to you that that's the way it is right now. And the detention basin, where you have the detention basin, is directly straight east of my pond. Okay, so if that's going to drain to the west, we can maybe do something that would collaborate with each other as to know how much water is going to move through that, so that I know whether or not my actually outflowing pipe on the west side of my pond is big enough for that, so that I don't flood the creek or overflow the pond.
Go ahead, Kelly, unless you have something else, Larry.
No, I was just thinking that when we do have the drainage study, we'll have Public Works contact him to give him the information he needs.
Okay.
Very good. Kelly?
We have discussed this issue in our weekly staff meetings, our coordinated development review meetings, and our engineer, Mark Pottinger, has discussed, doing, still feeding your pond and keeping your pond healthy and alive, and I think he's discussed with the applicant how that can happen, and that was all going to get worked out in the final stormwater report, and so you might want to call Mark Pottinger and talk with him.
Okay, well, maybe
he'll share some more information.
Maybe he'd want to call me, because
Okay.
I'm the landowner and this is being done
Sure.
next to me.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll give you the information.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you. I did.
All right, is the applicant here?
Jim Humbert with Lifestyle Building Design, 34590 West 167th Street. Nice to see you all again in another month. So the concept here on the parking lot, we have a problem with basically being so close to a corner and that's why we're setting up the parking lot in the clubhouse as we are. We want a parking lot where it's safer for children. We're not backing up. We have a stacking problem with the corner, and that's what's pushed our parking lot towards that. Plus, we were trying to get this visual, kind of like the church before us, where you walk into the front of this thing, and in between the buildings, you see that nice barn back there. So that's kind of why this thing's set up the way it is. And I think in the future, you'll see a lot more amenity structures and such like this, where you've got parking along the street to get the buffer for safety. So that's kind of our intent. To the gentleman's talk about drainage, this thing's basically going to drain the same way. This whole project goes to the southwest, to the corner, and with the detention pond there, you can kind of direct it where you want to a little bit better. So we actually could probably help him so it has to go across his house. So, there's a goal in the city to have more walkable neighborhoods. I'm just amazed with our residents and how much they run, walk, bike, cutting down on the amount of parking spaces. That'd be great, because I just see this thing, a lot of folks walking there, not driving there. Maybe it's mom dropping off the kids at the front to go play in the park and what have you. So not really seeing that being a problem. So
Okay.
thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, with no one approaching the podium, at this time we'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Okay, I have a motion to close the public hearing by Commissioner McNear, with a second by Commissioner Mader. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Motion passes 7-0. All right, Commissioner discussion, starting by far right.
No questions at this time.
No questions at this time.
What about this fence that he's talking about? Has there been any that he's, the fence that's not on his property, or does anybody know anything about that?
As you can see, the line, the west property line on this, it shows X's.
Yeah, that's the fence?
That's a designation of a fence.
Okay.
That just shows that there's an existing fence. You see that along, there's a different kind of fence that already exists along Kill Creek, and it goes around the corner. They're there. The applicant has not proposed to change the one on the west property line.
Okay. Okay, that's the only question I had.
Okay, Commissioner Simmons.
I guess I have another question about the fence. And I don't know if this is within our purview, but is that the correct type of fence to have if you have a pool, or is there?
The building code requires a minimum of 5-foot fence, so that will be right around the pool. So that's something separate. And that was shown on the site plan that was approved last month for the actual pool fence.
Anything else?
It's not really, the fence itself is, evidently it's on your property?
It's just an old country barbed wire fence. I think once upon a time, there's a sign up that shows a sports field there, and that's had to be deleted with the access road and the detention pond. So you're gonna have a pretty good buffer, I think, to that.
There's no fencing requirement that the city has to make him change what's there?
To me, that'd be something between the
And that's
developer
between-
and the property owner to
between the
discuss.
neighbors, yeah.
So,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Was when Dairy Queen was built, I know that there was a buffer that was required for that because of the residence behind there. Would that fit into the same criteria since there is a residence next to it?
That didn't require a fence, and that was a commercial zoning district next to a residential zoning district. This would be residential to residential.
Okay.
There's really no
just wanna
requirement
make sure.
for a fence around the property.
Okay.
Yeah, if y'all had just waited for me, I would have clarified all that.
Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, I think that, I know that there is no statute that requires one property owner to build a fence at the behest of another. As much as we would like to be able to do that, I can't require my neighbor to build a fence. But that being said, you know, it is something that definitely needs to happen between the property owners, and he should have reached out to you just as much as, you know, anybody, especially knowing that you were coming here today. So that's definitely, I think, outside of the scope of what we do here. And to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, there is no requirement for a fence other than what has already been required and sort of passed with the plan.
I wasn't necessarily asking because I thought we needed to provide a fence. I was just asking mainly to get it on the record, so maybe it could start a dialogue between the two.
Yeah, in essence, he did notify the developer by coming and speaking in public comments, so.
True. Okay. So that was it.
I don't have any other comments. Without any further comments, I would take a motion.
I'll make a motion that after review of applications Z19-04 and PDP 19-04, a rezoning from R1 to RP1 district and associated preliminary development plan for Symphony Farms amenities area on property located at the northwest corner of Kill Creek Road and West 167th Street, tax IDs wrote therein, and preliminary development plan document dated October 18, 2019, and staff report dated October 22nd, 2019, the Planning Commission recommends the governing body approve the applications subject to the following conditions. Item number 1, complete the administrative plat process to combine the two lots. Item number 2, work with Public Works to obtain an approved stormwater management plan. Item number 3, provide no parking signs on the east side of Kill Creek Road from West 167th Street north to Mustang Street. And number 4, provide no parking signs on the west side of Kill Creek Road from the stub of West 166th Street to the east.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Mader and a second by Commissioner Gardner. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any against? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, that's the end of our regular agenda. We have one discussion item that I had put on there. It's commission items to staff discussion. It's my feeling that one of the items that, besides having what the city presents us, it's also something I feel as a commission that we should have at least a discussion at some point on if there's anything that we would like the city staff to look at that we've seen over our time on the commission. So I basically put this on here for an open discussion. I know that one item that, well, two things that I've noticed have occurred at least once that have been bigger is, I know Overland Park is looking at redoing their signage, the length of notification, and basically requiring, like if you have, we had with the tall grass development, if you have an R3 next to an R1, that there is a required neighborhood meeting. And that was something that I thought was, would look good for the city, so that I think that any time that we can make sure notification's out there properly, and any time, especially on a project that we know there might be some disagreement with, that we have a neighborhood meeting, I think that's all a very positive thing. So that was one item that I was thinking of. The other one was one that come up during the price dropper discussion on the bicycle parking on a large retail next to a trail system, in which I know I didn't agree with the deviation that we had to go with due to the way the code is written. So that's one that I know I'm interested in, but those are just two that I wanted to bring up and see if anyone else has anything that they would like to discuss.
I'm good.
I don't have any.
I don't have any.
You know, you bring up a good point, Chairman Bowden, because I was thinking about this, and I went through the process of the land development code and the comprehensive plan, and it was meeting after meeting and tons of work, tons of opportunity for public input. So I really was just scratching my head thinking, oh my gosh, what did we miss? But hearing you say the recommendation, I don't know how exactly staff could incorporate it and how you really hold somebody accountable, but the neighborhood meeting, that really struck a chord with me because I don't know if you could really require it, but it would sure be great if it was maybe out there as part of a checklist. You know, we don't want to hinder development, but yet having had that open dialogue, I mean, when you said that, that just lit the light bulb in my head that, wow, that really could have helped kind of taken the edge off some of what you guys saw with, well, tall grass, and then what you also saw with the, I think Waverly Point was another one, and the one over by Fairfield. I think I wasn't on the commission, you guys saw those, but I know they were kind of some heavily discussed items to where, you know, I don't know how staff would do that, but I think that's a really, really good point, Scott. So thanks for bringing that up.
Okay.
That's all I have.
So for me, other than the bike rack thing, which for those of you who weren't here, it was something like we had to, even with as much deviation as we could do, they still had to have like 89, something like that, or 98 parking spaces. I don't know.
It was bike racks.
Yeah, I think it would be hard pressed to find 98 bikes in Gardner, let alone. I know, I'm being facetious, but that one I definitely think we need to take a second crack at. The other ones that kind of I wanted to discuss, and I don't remember if we closed the case on this. I feel like we did, but I kind of want to reopen it and hope I don't get beat up for it. Driveway frontage and facade depth. I don't really feel like we fleshed that out completely because the whole discussion, I think we spent a long time talking about depth of frontage. So like when you have a single car garage as opposed to a dual car garage. I think we really just got tired and was like, whatever, let's end the meeting.
You actually made a recommendation to the council to modify it slightly, and they just haven't really taken that up yet because they were waiting on findings from a consultant on recommended changes.
Okay.
Yeah, I do remember that we made a recommendation, voted on that. Well, I don't know if we voted, but we made a recommendation.
I think we did make a recommendation. I just think that I'm only speaking for myself here. Towards the end of that meeting, I was like, just whatever. But I do feel like it was something that I think still needs to be discussed, I guess maybe at the city level or the city council level. And then driveway frontage, did we actually come to a conclusion with that or did we leave it the same? Because I thought we left it the same when we talked about access and ingress.
I think we were gonna change the garage limits to be a little bit bigger to accommodate a double garage door, a typical size double garage door. And we also discussed about, we're just about improving the definition of garage limit and what you're actually measuring, because we're just measuring the garage doors, and there was discussion, do you measure the whole garage? So that was another item.
And then the width of your driveway. I remember we had some weird shaped driveways.
I think we
They
voted
narrow
to
at
keep.
the end by the street.
I believe we voted to keep that the same.
Right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
That
reopen the
was-
can of worms.
That was a request at that time.
Right. But we did vote to keep it the same, right?
Yes. From my recollection, we voted to keep the same. So.
Has there been any other issues since then, just out of curiosity? Because I think it was mostly affecting duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes.
You're correct. The larger problem tends to be where we do have groupings of garages. That's a proper term.
You say that 3 times fast.
No, thank you. But that is still under review. Actually, we do have an outside consultant looking at other entities and other cities to bring back some other recommendations. We ourselves are not quite satisfied with the outcome of all of that and felt like there was definitely a need to review it. So that will be brought back, I'm sure, at some point in time for your consideration, hopefully sooner than later. We hesitate to make too many changes because every time you start that process, you kind of open the door for a complete rediscussion, and So we're trying to find a limited way to address the issue, and most of our developers have gotten comfortable with the current situation, except where we have 3-car garages. And 3-car garages are still an issue, because they're wanting to put 3-car garages on lots that aren't built for 3-car garages, and you don't have the frontage width to really allow for that configuration that they're looking for in some cases. So that's one of the things that we're looking for. I will tell you that I've driven a lot of neighborhoods in the Kansas City area, a lot of new neighborhoods recently, because of this very thing, and I've taken a lot of pictures of driveways, and they all look like ours. They all neck into that 18 or 20 foot or 22 feet area, and then expand back out on the apron to the street. So I don't think we're as out of kilter as it appears. I think that basically we're getting there. We just have a few little tweaks. And on the neighborhood meetings, we've already talked, staff and I and administration, not the council, but administration, city administration, has already looked at ways to try and help have additional neighborhood meetings, so to speak, prior to regular planning commission public hearings, just in order to help get the information out to the individual neighborhoods so that they can make better decisions on what they're really worried about. So we're trying to facilitate that, and it's going to be much like the checkoff list versus a requirement, because it's really up in the air. I mean, if you have a neighborhood that's really worried, you're gonna get calls, and then you know you need to have a meeting. If you go out and nobody cares, then you have the meeting. You offer it, and then if nobody comes, and that's what it is.
Right, I noticed that Overland Park was going through that right now, and I know you guys did a meeting for, I believe, Waverly Point. I'm not sure if you did one for the one up 183rd, the rezoning request or not, but I know you did one for Waverly Point. So I just wanted to bring those up just to throw it out there.
So my last and final one was, I briefly remember, and I just vaguely remember this, so bear with me for a second. Do we have, or did we start a conversation about a downtown district for codes that was separate from, or I just remember we had a brief discussion about that, and I don't think it went anywhere. And it was about a year ago, I think, we had this discussion.
Well, you mean different than what we already have?
Yes, I don't remember, I don't know why I'm bringing that up, because I really don't. It's a memory of a memory at this point. But it's one of those things that I thought that is something that we kind of need to address. I think, well,
We did the Main Street corridor plan and created a new future land use map for the area and put everything in like a downtown core mixed use district. And I think we had pretty much enabled all the building types that were necessary in that district to achieve what we thought we needed to achieve.
For the Main Street corridor plan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that was it. I think that's what we were talking about. I just remember thinking we need to address this, and then I put it on the back burner and never thought about it again. So now that we have this open floor, I thought I'd bring it up, and that's it. That's my last one.
Does anybody have anything else? City planners have anything for us? Nope.
I'm sure you'll be getting some more items. Yeah, probably small things.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, actually, I do have one question. Sorry, I have one more. So you say small things are coming up. Is there anything big that's coming up for us that we need to prep for, like any major changes you see coming down the pike for anything?
I've been working on the street tree program that we talked about, and I interviewed someone at Lawrence who's in charge of their street tree program, and so I'm trying to put together those what those regulations would look like for us. We're also looking for what we need to do for the area south of I-35 that's newly annexed.
Okay, with nothing further, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Ford with a second from Commissioner Gardenhire to adjourn. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any against? Motion passes 7-0. We are adjourned.
Everybody vote?